Today I wanted to talk about weight loss myths, particularly ones aimed at people who are morbidly obese and starting out. So this is all about myths of weight loss, and I hope you enjoy. Hello, my name is Mark and I'm here to help you live a better, healthier life. My goal is to help as many people as I can get into shape and improve their quality of life. Now, if this is your first time here and you want to learn more about practical and effective ways to lose weight, or if you're just interested in learning more about fitness and nutrition, hit the subscription button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos going forward. And now, without further ado, let's jump right in. Let's start off with a myth that is quite close to my heart. The only way to lose weight is through a radical exercise regime. Now, that might be good for some people, it might work for some people, particularly if you are bigger, you're morbidly obese. If you jump straight into a radical exercise regime, then you are likely to hurt yourself, you're likely to put yourself back. And the fact is that it's only about 150 minutes per week is the recommended amount of exercise that we should be getting as adults. That's in the UK, recommended by the NHS. And it is one of those things that exercise is great and doing more than you were doing before is brilliant. But jumping into some sort of radical exercise regime is just going to A, tire you out, B, put your motivation down, potentially give you injuries, etc. You do not have to have some radical exercise regime to lose weight. Some more exercise than you were doing before in conjunction with calorie controlled diets, and everything else, and knowing your deficit, that's the way forward. It does not need to be a radical exercise regime. Don't start off going from nothing to trying to do 3 or 4 hours a day. It's just not going to help you in the long run. Okay, the next one is that healthier foods do not have to be horrendously expensive. They don't have to be. It is one of those things that, yes, if you're buying free-range chickens and all the rest of it, it can end up expensive. But by going for options like a slightly cheaper cut of meat, having frozen vegetables and things, those are things that A, can be very cheap. B, if you're keeping them in the freezer, you don't need to worry about them going off and all the rest of it and wastage. And it is one of those things that eating healthier can just be about swapping out a couple of things with healthier options. It doesn't have to be grass-fed, free range, all the rest of it. It just needs to be slightly healthier than you were doing before. Occasionally swap out the rice for wholemeal rice or brown rice or even cauliflower rice. Those are cheap alternatives. With your, using the freezer and stocking up on vegetables and things, you'll always have a supply of healthier options for you. And it is one of those things, it does not have to cost an arm and a leg. It really doesn't. It just needs a little bit more planning, a little bit of freezer space, and just using what is available at the time rather than buying the expensive, organic, free-range, whatever it is, because those things do generally cost more. But being healthier and eating healthier and cooking healthier doesn't have to break the bank. Okay, this is probably one of my favorites, worst things. I love carbs. Eating carbs does not have to equal putting on weight. Right? You do not have to get rid of carbs from your diet. You really don't. But you do need to think about a few things. Less processed food is generally better for you. White rice, is slightly worse for you than brown rice, wholemeal, etc. Go for the wholemeal bread rather than the white bread. And the reason I say that is generally things that have been processed less, it takes your body more to use the energy. It is, kind of having to do a little bit more effort to actually get the energy from that food. Therefore, ironically enough, you burn a few more calories to get the food out, which means overall it costs you slightly less. It is one of those things that Carbs aren't bad. There is no food that is absolutely bad and you should not eat it ever. If you eat carbs, you're not going to put the weight on unless you're not aware of that calorie deficit and you're eating too much like I have a habit of doing. So be mindful of your portions, and where you can, swap it out for a whole meal, swap it out for a brown rice. You know, there are lots of things you can do there to have your carbohydrates, but have slightly better carbohydrates. And just be mindful of your portion. Eating too much of anything is going to stop you from losing weight, but eating the right amount of pasta, of rice, of bread is not going to stop you from losing weight. A little bit of a short one here, but starving yourself is not going to make you lose weight. The simple fact is that if you starve yourself, if you miss out meals, you know, and sort of take the amount of calories you're putting into your body down low enough, your body thinks, I'm not going to get fed again, and it goes in starvation mode. It is counterproductive. You need to be eating meals. Now, I'm not talking your, you know, kind of intermittent fasting and things. I'm talking about skipping meals completely, cutting down on the amount of calories to the point where you are, you know, effectively starving yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, if you cut down your calories for a couple of days here and there, it might, depending on your body and everything else, it might help you lose a little bit of weight as a short, sharp shock to the system. But be careful with it, all right? Get some medical advice, speak to your doctor before you do anything drastic. And generally, extreme diets are only good for a little period of time. And the sad fact is that in the long term, that kind of extreme dieting can actually lead you to putting on more weight than you lost in the first place. So there's a long-term implication there. Starving yourself generally doesn't have a long-term positive impact. It might let you shed a few pounds quickly, and that might be good to get you into a dress or a suit or whatever for an event. But for me, it's all about that healthier lifestyle. It's actually about making the changes that got you there in the first place, not doing something drastic that could potentially lead to health implications and potentially putting on more weight than you lost in the first place. So get some advice before you do anything drastic. Have a think about what you're trying to achieve. Is it just to drop a size of clothing for an event? And maybe it might be an option for you. But longer term than that, it can do far more harm than it does any good. And in the long run, most people actually put that weight back on, if not more. So please do take anything that involves starving yourself with a massive grain of doubt. Speak to a doctor and think about changing your lifestyle before you start going on an extreme diet and cutting out those meals and effectively starving yourself. Your body will not thank you for it in the long run. As always, if you're enjoying this video, please do smash that like button. It really does help with the algorithm and gets these videos out there to hopefully help more people. But moving on, some foods speed up your metabolism. There's a grain of truth in this. Caffeine and things can increase your metabolism a little bit and give you that boost of energy. But generally speaking, a lot of these diet supplements and everything else, they are, you know, basically caffeine, and they basically just ramp up, you know, that kind of jittery, you know, ness that you get if you drink too much coffee. It is one of those things that having a coffee isn't bad, but having too much coffee can be really bad. You know, so the fact that some foods speed up your metabolism has a grain of truth in it. But you've got to be wary here, because a lot of those drinks and foods that you are eating to speed up your metabolism to help you lose weight actually have a whole pile of sugar and everything else, you know, in those drinks and foods that you wouldn't normally be getting. So you get a little bit of a better metabolism, faster metabolism for a short period of time, but then you get this whole pile of sugars and, you know, badness, you know, that isn't helping you either. Your weight loss and how much you're losing is far more based on your genes, your age, your gender, how active you are, how much water you're drinking, are you hydrated? Those are all factors in your metabolism, far more than are you getting enough caffeine, to sink a battleship. Be careful with it and watch out for those sometimes massive amounts of sugar that are in those energy drinks and things that you find out there. We're getting close to the end now, I promise. I'm saving my two last ones, which are, for me, the two that really quite surprised me. So the next one on the list is food labeled low fat or reduced fat is not always the best option for you. Read the label. I was surprised with how much other stuff is put in there to reduce that fat, or have it as classed as low fat. They have to have something in. And in this day and age, they put things in that make it taste nice, and they're not always the best for you. So read the label. I was surprised when I started reading a few labels, because I just thought, yeah, low fat, zero fat, reduced fat, they've got to be better for me than the full fat version. And quite often they are, right? But some of them are not. Read the label, find out what's in there. If you're going for lower carbs, you'll quite often find that these low fat, reduced fat, zero fat things have a ton of carbs in them. So be aware of that, depending on what you're doing with your lifestyle and your eating habits and everything else. Be aware, because it can catch you out. It has caught me out in the past. And the very last one for today. And I've fallen for it in the past. I have, over the years, I've fallen for it. Slimming pills. Slimming pills are safe and fine for you to take. Now, I want to distinguish here between any drugs or anything else that you get given by your doctor as part of a medical treatment plan. They have been signed off and vetted, they're produced safely, they're licensed, those things prescribed by a doctor and issued by a pharmacist, they're about as safe as you can get, right? There are side effects to everything, be aware of those side effects, but your doctor will talk to you about those. But I'm talking here about the off-the-shelf, off Amazon, off wherever, things that are classed as slimming pills. At best, they're going to be a healthy dose of caffeine, and if you just take too many, you're going to get the jitters. But at worst, they can do some real harm to you. They are not prescribed. They are generic, so they're not tailored to you and your medical conditions. They are unlicensed. And depending on where you go, you can get some, really quite powerful drugs that will assist you in losing weight. But some of them have horrendous side effects. So please do be aware of what you're putting into yourself. Be aware that a slimming pill, a fat loss pill, is not a magic bullet that's going to suddenly cure you of 20 years of abusing your body by eating too much and doing too little. It is one of those things that, there is no magic bullet. It's a calorie deficit, it's hard work, it's changing your lifestyle. It takes a long time. I'm still, only halfway there, 2/3 of the way there. And it's taken me years. It is not a wave magic wand, abracadabra, alakazam, or any of those other things, right? It is just calorie deficit, day in, day out, more exercise, day in, day out, and doing your best. A slimming pill, at best, will do nothing and will just cost you money. At worst, could properly give you health complications. So please do your research. Speak to a doctor. Don't be tempted. I hesitate because I've been tempted. I have taken various pills over the years, and some have been, caffeine filled, and some have done nothing. But none have particularly done anything to help me do anything. So be aware of that. Think about it. Think what you're putting into your body. And as always, Look at your calorie deficit. Use a TD calculator. You know, I always have one in the link below the video. You know, work out what your deficit is and just try and eat better this week than you did last week, and try and do more exercise this week than you did last week. It will get you there in the end, and you can do it. You really can. It's just a slow and annoying process to go through. And these miracle pills, drugs, treatments, exercise things, they are not going to make you shed 20 kilograms in a month without doing something dangerous. So be aware and just look after yourself. Be healthy, be healthier than you were last week. And thank you very much for watching this video. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one.